Welcome to A New View. We are Restored Ministries, and we are so glad that you're joining us today. We've been talking this week about boundaries, about asking for help and offering help, some ways to volunteer. Now this episode, we're really going to talk about what it means to have a servant's heart. So I have a verse here in 1 Samuel 3:9. It's from the Message translation, and it says, "Speak, God, I am your servant, ready to listen." And that's really key in all these 3 episodes that we've been doing this week talking about those things. The key is really ready to listen. Listening to the Holy Spirit to help us to say, how do we set the boundaries that we need that not only ensure our own selves, but other people? How do we ask for help? How do we offer help? What are some ways we can not only serve ourselves healthy ways, our family in great ways, but also serve our communities? So I really am excited about this because Stephanie and Kim have some great information on a servant's heart for you.
We do. I'm just kidding.
You better.
Kim, you want to kick us off?
I think I'm feeling like I'm wanting to go into why servants are happier first,
Oh,
because
yeah,
I mean, you're going to want to follow along when you know it's going to make you happier.
Yeah.
So, Rory Vaden wrote a blog in 2016 and just made some bullet points as to what causes you to be happier through serving. And the first thing is, when you have a servant's heart, you stop thinking about yourself and you start thinking about the person that you're helping.
Nice.
Good.
So many times we live in our own head. We're worried about something. We're trying to figure out our next whatever, and that spinning by yourself is a cycle downward. So yeah, just taking your focus off yourself for a minute, it does help you to be happier. When you think about yourself, fear and self-doubt set in and slow you down. Think about that for a second. You're on a mission for something for yourself. So many things can get in your way. But if you're out there trying to do something for someone else, you're like, oh no, yes.
That is good stuff.
Good.
Happiness comes from lifting up other people around you.
Right. I love that because I am a natural born encourager. I love to encourage and lift people up. So I love that. I love that.
Well, and imagine too, like, okay, I'm sitting here with my friends and some of them are down. Okay, that's kind of fun. But like, what if they weren't? That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So really it's just on that,
Yes.
simple plane. When you have a servant's heart, you develop persistence. Again, steaming on for the cause,
Yes.
persistence. That's a very important
good,
thing. It's hard to be nervous when your heart is on service.
Ooh,
I
that's
like that.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
It's hard to be nervous when your heart is on service.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah. This one's good too. All right. Fear is your creativity working in the wrong direction.
That's true. We
Okay.
know
Chew
that
on
with your
that.
prescription
Yeah.
for fear.
Yeah.
It's the faith-filled promises of God. If your focus is on faith, then that fear has to go. That's good stuff.
And whether you think of yourself as someone that's creative or not, to realize, holy cow, I am, but I'm working the wrong way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. Holy cow, I'm working the wrong way.
Wrong direction. U-turn.
And then this one, partnership is a byproduct of a servant's heart.
Yes.
You're functioning better with people because you stepped into that servant's heart.
I think we function better too. We're talking about when we're able to ask for help and offer help from that pure heart place. That pure heart place.
That's good.
That's good stuff.
And I think about, when you have a servant's heart, I think that comes with some work. I think you're cultivating that within yourself. I don't think you have to do it alone. I think you have the love of God within you. And I know for me, and this has just been in the past few years, I've asked God, help me to love your people. Give me God's love for people.
Right.
Because we have to have that, or else honestly, you're going to get more annoyed with people. You're going to give up on people faster.
Right, that's true.
You are not going to want to serve them. And if you are serving, you're going to come from a place of obligation and resentment. We have to have a love for people. And that doesn't just come out of thin air. That doesn't come in our own strength. It comes from God working through us and it being cultivated out. And if God's ever done anything in your life, which I know he has, but when he's done something in your life, you know that it's been him, and you know you have such a reverence for him and such a love for him that we serve and act out of love, because of what he's done for us. And that truly is, why we should be doing a lot of what we're doing, not because we're obligated, but out of love. And a lot of times out of the love that God has shown for us and that Jesus has shown for us, that we're just so thankful. You know, how could you not want to how could you not want to help people, or, you know, in whatever aspect that looks like. It will look different for each of us. It'll, I think, bend towards what we're drawn to and what we're capable of, what is good for our home life and for our own needs and all of that. But as we were talking about all of this, the servant's heart stuff, it reminded me of when I ran for Miss Texas. I won Miss Texas USA in 2000, it's been so long, 2004. And it's 2017 now, so it's been like 13 years. And it took me literally, I competed 5 times. I won on my 5th try. I didn't start till I was about 17. And when I used to compete, the years that I competed, a lot of these girls, we did it over and over again. I mean, it became like a part of what we did. Winning Miss Texas USA was it was hard to do. So you had girls that you were competing with, the same group of girls, and you would, you know, have relationships with them and all that. You'd train with the same people. And, you know, you kind of did life with some of these girls. And it didn't happen for me overnight. Obviously, it took me 5 times to win. But during all of that time, I went to school. I was going to school. I was working, doing other things. But it was a big part of my life. I felt like, not the first year I did it. Honestly, the first year I did it, I was 18 years old. And I was motivated by, my mom and I had talked about it. And I remember watching the first Miss Texas USA video. Like, I had a video that I watched, and the woman that won, I was just like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. She is like, how do you compete with that? Like, I just remember looking at these women, like, these are like total package women. Like, they know what they're gonna do when they grow up, or they are grown up, and they're, you know, I just didn't see myself on that playing field or in that arena. And I was just a freshman in college. So then you fast forward until that first year I did it, the second year I did it. The 3rd year I competed, I ended up getting first runner-up. But at that point, I remember the girl that won, my friend and I were standing on stage at the very end, and this is a young woman that I had already competed with 2 other years. This was our 3rd year together, and we were very close. And I seriously remember, it was one of the biggest God moments, maybe one of the first ones that I had really ever had, that we were standing on the stage together, and it was as if time stopped. And I felt the Lord, I guess you could say it. I didn't realize that at the time, but right before they announced, like, oh, you know, the winner is, and then they say, but the first runner-up, you know, they remind you of the responsibilities of the first runner-up. Like, they kind of make like a little pause. And in that moment, I remember hearing something saying, not now. Like, basically just this not now. And I was like, okay. And they called my friend, her name, as the winner. And I got done, and I was so happy for her. And I saw the guy that ended up training us. His name's Don Baker. He's passed already. But I remember him telling me, you didn't lose, she won. You know, and it was really beautiful in that moment. I remember just totally getting that. Like, you know, I didn't lose anything. I mean, I had like an amazing time training, and my friend won. It was her time. And I felt like after that, within that time, I felt the Lord telling me that I would win Miss Texas USA. And he didn't tell me when, he didn't tell me what it would look like, but this was no longer something I was striving for. It was something that he had put on my heart. And so, mind you, I have like friends and family that are like, is she ever gonna get over it? Like, what is the deal with this thing? You know, and it cost money, and I had supportive parents and everything, but the next year I went back, I didn't even place. Okay, I had gotten too thin. I was overtraining. I was involved in a relationship that was not good. I did not deserve to be Miss Texas USA. In my mind, I wasn't in a good place. And I still didn't give up, because I felt like this was something God told me. And I was only, I think, 22. And I was practicing my Catholic faith at the time. And, you know, I had a relationship with God, and I felt like, I guess I had heard from him. I mean, that was one of the first times I'd ever heard from him like that. And I wasn't going to let it go. Even if I wanted to be defeated, I could not let it go. And so that year I spent a lot of time, which I had already been doing. My mom is she has got a servant's heart like no other. And she would help me find different ways. We lived in a small community, to volunteer. And find things that I really enjoyed doing. And I would go and talk in different schools about setting goals and being disciplined and being determined, because those were things that I was walking out, you know, and it was all this stuff that I was talking about was stuff that was pouring back into me. Basically, like, I was feeding my soul. And so
while feeding others.
Yes.
That's usually what happens.
Yes. And so that was her, she helped me. She was like, let's do this. And the guy I was training with, again, Don Baker, was like, you need to behave in a way that a Miss Texas USA would behave. That needs to be who not who I am, but basically walking in that. And I took that as, if you are a Miss Texas USA, you are a servant. In my mind, that's how I saw it. I get to win, and I get to wear a crown, and I win a car, and all this money, and these prizes, and this wardrobe. I saw all of that, but when he said that to me, what I saw is service. I saw the way people looked at Miss Texas. You know, like, I'll get emotional about it now because I just remember, like, thinking, what an opportunity. And so I took that as a servant thing, and that's what I did. The year prepping for that 5th year, I did a lot of volunteer stuff prepping. I read with little kids in school because I had struggled with reading, and you're gonna get emotional too. And I just remember being like, what would a Miss Texas USA do? You know, I've got the hair figured out. I've got all this external stuff figured out. Hello, it was my 5th time.
And you were doing all of this before you won.
Right.
Yeah. So you were preparing. God was preparing your heart.
My heart.
To serve.
Yes.
And out of a true servant's heart. That's a big difference.
It just took me 5 years to figure it out. but so by the time I stepped on stage, I was ready. I mean, I had already done all this, I was already ready physically. There's only so much you can do physically. You know, your beauty is in the eye of the beholder, they say, you know, but in my opinion, when you've ever competed like that, people see something within you. They can't pinpoint it because there's a lot of beautiful faces, but there is something there that when you're in an interview with someone, they can either put their finger on it or they can't, but they're like, whoa, this is it. You know, because I've sat across different, I've judged Miss Michigan, Teen USA, I've judged big pageants before, and I knew right away a girl would sit down and start talking to me, and I'm like, done, sorry, but she's my winner. And it's not because I'm basing it off of her intelligence or what she said, but I sense something about her that's deeper than just her beauty. And it just was like it's a total package thing. I couldn't describe it. But long story short, I ended up winning, and I got saved I call it saved, I mean, you can call it whatever, but a pastor came over and prayed with me at a friend's house within a month of winning my crown. And I spent the whole year I got to go in different churches, different schools. I literally had no issue saying no. Or I had no issue, I didn't need to say no. I was like, this is what I set out to do. I've already trained and prepped. I am ready. Use me, serve. I will serve in whatever capacity that I need to do.
Speak, God, I am your servant.
Yes, I was ready. I was ready. But what I learned, and what kind of I want to touch on really with all that backstory, is different people would ask me, and I've been asked over the years to train with them, or to, why don't you train pageant girls? You're so good at that. And I've never felt like that was for me. What I've always said is, I will gladly pray with you if you need prayer, or you want to sit and talk about what it's like to be Miss Texas, because here's the difference. And you can apply this to many things in your life, but the way I saw it was, everybody wants to win Miss Texas. Everybody wants to have, if you take it away from a pageant, everybody wants to be this, right? Everybody wanted to win Miss Texas. But it is a completely different story, and it looks completely different to be Miss Texas, or to be this person. For me, it was super easy, not super easy, but it was easy to win. Put the crown on my head, give me some money, put the fancy clothes on, I'm ready. Camera, hello.
They didn't see the work behind it.
Yes.
Just like in ministry or life, everybody wants the glory, the lights, camera, that moment of excitement or fame, but they don't realize what it took to go in there, or
the character building.
Yes,
and the blessing that came from adopting the true servant's heart.
Yes, and that's the one thing I've sat down with people and said, hey, there's a complete difference. It's fun, and it goes hand in hand, but the minute you win is a minute. It's a hot 15 minutes of, woo, I feel great. The rest of it, to have a successful year and do it the way that you should do it, because it is just a year and then you're a has-been, is to serve and to meet as many people as you can and bless them, because you will meet little kids that you don't have to say a word. They're like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. It's Miss Texas. You could
You meet adults that do that too.
And what's funny is, all this hype with Daniela Rodriguez right now, Herrera's fiance. She is one of the girls that I remember. I put something on Facebook a long time ago, and my husband had judged her in a pageant in Laredo. And I put a post because I really felt like, I should be helping pageant girls, but not in the training capacity, because basically I'd be training them to be fake. And I don't want to do that. Yeah. And so I put like a little thing together and said, hey, if anybody wants to pray before your pageant and kind of get your hearts ready, let me know. And from Laredo, all the way from Laredo, the pageant was in Houston, she was the only one that was like, yes, count me in, I want to do it. And we did that a number of times. And she ended up winning Miss Texas Teen USA on her first try. And then she ended up winning, we did it again for Miss Texas. She ended up winning Miss Texas, but she was ready. She was in a position where, and it was myself and another, Elise, that helped. We both were like, well, let's do this. Let's bless her and pray with her. But again, she was someone.
That will preach all day long. Because like you said, you put your heart out there and said, I have a servant's heart. If you want me to pray for you and help you get your heart ready, I'm your girl.
Yes, and she was ready.
And she was ready.
Yes,
and she was
God
like you said,
blessed
she was the only one that reached out and said, I want my heart
because you're
ready.
all busy. And that was the thing that I was like,
so
I cannot
good.
believe it. She's from Laredo. I've got girls here in Houston that, and that no judgment, but that, no. And I was just like, and I didn't get to see her win, but my friend that was there that saw her, she was like, you're not going to believe it. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you kidding me?
Well, that makes me love her even more, because what we're talking about is Correa,
the big proposal, the World Series
Houston
proposal.
Astros on the World Series. He proposed to his girlfriend, and that's who she is.
Beautiful heart. But,
beautiful.
We don't always get those opportunities, I feel like, that I had or that we've had, to cultivate the servant's heart that way. It comes sometimes in a different way, but what it comes from too is reading the Word of God and asking God. I know it sounds kind of silly, and a lot of us don't want to do this, but God, make me more like you. I want to be more like, I want to be more like you. And He doesn't make you like Him in this cookie cutter box way. He makes you more like Him in your authentic bend and shape and form and as it looks like. And you guys know, because you have it too, when you meet people like ourselves, and I'm not tooting our own horn or any of that, but who love the Lord, and that there's just, it's not a buffer, but there's just something that you're like, you want to be in relationship with those people.
There's a kindred spirit. There's a kindred spirit, I think, because we recognize that we can bring our authenticity to the table and our vulnerability, and it's not weakness, it's courage, but it helps us grow, because a lot of times we're not, and especially you said in the pageant world, sometimes they teach you how to have a to do all the right things.
They want to make it look right. They want to make it
right,
fake,
but
for lack of a better
on
words,
the
for a little
inside,
bit.
if it's not, I mean, we can all dress up and put on a mask, kind of like the Real You conference I just did. We can all put on a mask, but when we're ready to bear all and to say, and so I just love that whole idea about the servant's heart, but also I think of your God's Beauty Secrets, your Facebook community and God's Beauty Secrets. And don't look at me with those tears in your eyes.
Oh, gosh, sorry. Okay, well.
But I love that, because that's it. You can share all day long your beautiful tips, because you have great beauty tips, and I love that. But God's Beauty Secrets for you is preparing your heart for a servant's heart. Those are the things that you share with young girls, you share with old girls, beauty girls. My mom loves to follow your page, but the encouragement that you put there on your vlogs, all those different things, that shows people that this is God's true, the beauty in and out, inside and out. And I tell people, because I always like to say, she was Miss Texas USA, but she's as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside. And that's important.
Yeah. And what being immersed, because I feel like I was immersed from about 16 to 24, even 25, right around the time after I had Sophia, where looks was everything. Seriously, like A game all the time, with your fitness, with your health, with your everything. And I liked it and I enjoyed it, but I came to a point where there was a lot of pressure. And it was after I had Sophia, I feel like I went through postpartum and I was struggling with alcohol. I've come on the other side of that, where this, girls, is all gonna go away. I mean, it's gonna get, it's not going to get worse, but it's not going to look the same always. Our beauty is going to fade. Our servant's heart does not. We need to cultivate that. And that's why, like, when I've sat across people, because we've done this, and I've asked myself, I don't get offended by, well, why do you wear so much makeup, or why do you, because it's just, I like it. But it has nothing to do with what's here. This is solid. It's growing. It ain't, solid, like, it's still a mess, but but I've done some of the work to enjoy this in a balance. And I know when it's getting off kilter, and I can be like, whoa, girl, bring it in, because it ain't all about beauty. And we all have to be able to
hide the true intentions of the heart. We can hide our flaws or maybe the insecurities that we feel about ourselves with our hair, our makeup. But, I love that because I'm a person that I was a very superficial outward appearance person, and then had twins, and then, gained weight. Then didn't feel like I had the self-esteem that I once had, and really went off the unbalance where I didn't wear makeup. Some days I didn't want to get out of my PJs when I left the corporate world. I had a really hard time. And when you came into my life, I don't know, 6, 7 years, whatever it was, it's given me a balance to say, hey, sometimes I need a little lipstick and paint to make a girl what she ain't, and it helps, to do it. But really, it's about if my heart is right and I'm really listening to God and I'm really letting him fine tune those heart issues, I'm going to radiate with
no
the
matter
beauty
what.
of Christ.
Yes.
That's God's beauty secrets.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. I love that.
I agree.
So you've helped me in that balance.
You've helped me too. Both of you have. Oh, what a blessing, girl. All right. Do you have servant's heart stuff?
I have lots of stuff. Yeah. Okay. So before I get into 60 quick days to a servant's heart, it's that's my title that I just made up. But
I love it.
The idea that we get happier through serving, misery loves company, right? We hear that all the time. So unhappy people like other people to be unhappy too. And it's not that they sit there maliciously like, how can I make everyone unhappy? But
some of them are.
but having fellow sufferers makes unhappiness a little easier to bear.
Yes. Yeah.
So think of misery as a creature that is actively seeking new team members. The way to combat that is to adopt the servant's heart.
Ooh, that's good.
Okay.
Should we think of that person? Should we think of a little servant's heart person? No. Okay. Yeah.
Servant.
I'm looking for
Misery over here.
Misery's like a green goblin.
All right. So there was an article in Today's Christian Woman from 2011 about 60 days to a servant's heart, and the acts that they go through daily. You would obviously probably like a devotional, maybe just look at one each day. Are things like pray, act, watch, consider, journal, read, ponder, and reflect. And I want to tell you about a couple of days specifically. Day 1 is pray. Lord, make me useful for your kingdom. Help me to see with your eyes, feel with your heart, and think with your mind. Let me know clearly what needs you want me to meet and which ones are for someone else to handle.
Oh, that's a good prayer.
I'm available and listening.
Oh, again with the listen.
Yes.
Ready to listen. Ooh, that's good stuff.
Day 2, act. Reach out to someone today, whether it's just a kind word or an errand on someone's behalf or a surprise of something that blesses them. Simple enough, right? Day 5, journal. Write down why you avoid getting involved in service. I mean, really think of it. You have to be intentional.
Yes.
Why don't I want to get involved in this?
Yeah.
There's probably a good reason that you need to consider. Now write out a prayer and ask God to help you overcome the root of that concern that you have.
That's good. That's
really good. And then just real quick, a couple other things are things like they give you articles to read, so we help you all survive serving in the suburbs.
Serving in the
I thought you were going to say like surviving in the service or like that.
We help you all survive the service.
That's cute. But no, that's serving in the suburbds, you know, because a lot of times we think that only serving opportunities, there's a lot of needs in the inner cities. There's a lot of needs in that. But really in our outside, in our nice little suburbs, there's a lot of needs that still need to be met.
Yes.
We found that out in Harvey. I mean,
For
that
sure.
our own backyard had so many needs.
Yeah.
Not to mention our own families, you know.
Right.
I mean,
and just think about serving. This is what I think about it too when it comes to marriage. You know, if you're married or whatever close relationship that you have, ideally you want your mate to have a servant's heart like you. If you have one, you know, you're hoping that that's reciprocal. And a lot of times that's not the case. But you can have that servant's heart within your marriage. And in that servant's heart, be praying for that other person because we're always like, oh, this person needs to change, but we don't know what that's going to look like during those prayer times or journaling. You know, God may say some things about our own what we perceive to be a servant's heart, or
maybe not serving genuinely.
Yeah, and I just think like of my husband who the only thing he ever is like, babe, that frustrates me about you. Like the one thing he'll tell me, and it's the same thing, is if I'm frustrated with our kids, and I'm like, that is, dude, I'm human. But part of that is because he's nice about the fact that he thinks that I'm kind normally, and that's my temperament. So when I've gotten to the point where I'm so short with our kids, he's like, sister, then you've done something, or you're doing something that's not good for you, whether it's too much stuff that's not important, or so it's almost like he wants to help preserve that goodness. And we have to remember that, like when we're stepping out of even just the little bit of work that we've done in our like we're thinking we're building that servant's heart, but we're leaning over more towards the frustration. Ask ourselves, well, what are we doing that's taken away from the baby servant's heart? God's growing in us.
That's good.
Protect it,
I like the baby servant's heart. This one is also kind of, actually, it's probably my favorite right now. Act. Talk to someone who is using his or her gifts well, and ask them, how did they discover what the gifts are, and how did they come into the role they're in? Learn from someone else's wisdom. And it is not, we're just going to do it just like God would, but we have these different gifts, and he is going to, you're going to get more fuel. It's not selfish to want to serve in a way that fuels you, because then you have more to fuel or to go forward with.
And it probably won't be as much work because it's in your natural bend, your authentic place that you are, and that's really good. That's like a good homework assignment.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
60 days to a servant's heart from today's
we need
Christian
to tag
woman.
that article or something. Put that on
that's
our,
good.
That's good.
That's good. Because serving it's hard,
Yeah.
We've been talking about this whole week, asking for help, offering help, but just cultivating that servant's heart, because I think that's really, service is only able to be, like you said, through love. And so I was thinking earlier, love is what compels us to serve. We're going to be more apt to want to serve people when we love them, when we love them. And sometimes we can ask God to help us love them. So that we can serve them, because I think even serving those people that kind of give us a little bit of those sandpaper people, if we can have him say, they're hard to love, but let me love, but how can I serve them? I think that changes our hearts.
Let God
it's
be the
all about
buffer,
the heart. Let him be the buffer, and let him sand those people.
all good discussions, girls.
All right. Well, we hope that you have taken a new view on service, and that you have maybe loved this story about how you can have a servant's heart. We hope that you will stay tuned to A New View each and every week on KBN TV. We air every Friday, every Sunday, and every Tuesday. 3 shows every week. So we hope that you take a new view. Come to our Facebook page and share your view. Join us in the hashtags and join us in the conversations. Take care.